Wonderfully Willamette podcast. Today we'll be talking about changes in the real estate market and also just in how we're going to be doing real estate here in the Willamette Valley. We'll be talking about mortgage rates and what's going on in and around the Salem area during the month of February.
So welcome. Yeah, hi, everybody.
Hi, it's good to be back.
Yes, yeah, it's good to have you guys back. Absolutely. I know, Charlene, you were in Arizona.
How was that? It was amazing. I flew out on Christmas Day, landed in Mesa. So you can take a flight from Eugene to Mesa, which is about the same time as it takes to take from PDX to PHX, which is Sky Harbor in Phoenix, but much smaller airport. Much smaller airport in Eugene, much smaller airport in Mesa, so it's very easy to navigate. That's nice. I'll just say it that way. And so I took my dog with me, and so it makes it a little easier than having to stand in a huge security line.
How did Frankie do?
He did great. He is the best little traveler. He does a good job. Yeah. And of course the sun was shining, but I don't think
you didn't bring it back with you.
I didn't. But I heard you didn't have too terrible weather here the last couple of weeks.
No, it just recently started to turn. And of course, coming up, we have some yucky weather ahead of us, but it is winter. What do you expect?
First possible snow of the year.
Yeah.
I am excited for that. I do love a snow day.
Oh, yeah. Well, in the mountains, we'll get some snow. So good news for those skiers, snowboarders, all those people.
We need.
Yeah, definitely. And then you had some time off. Did you have time off, or did you?
I mean, here and there. I'm always working, but I did take a trip to Washington, and then just been doing a little bit of hunting and fishing and things like that, enjoying the outdoors.
Good.
But that's about what I've been up to.
Okay, very good. Charlene mentioned there's some happenings around Salem coming up in February. One thing that I found that I had no idea they did is tree climbing at Silver Falls. No idea, but it's super interesting because you can do a half-day tree climb. You can do a 2.5-day tree climb.
Is it a ropes course or like one of those adventure?
No, it's like an actual just climbing the trees around there. So I don't know exactly how they set it up, but you can also do tree camping. So,
Keep in the tree?
You can, yeah. So you can do tree camping. The tree camping doesn't start until April, but there are like sunset climbs you can do. It's guided, of course. Sunset climbs you can do a half day if you want, pace it out over a couple of days. But it seems really interesting. They also have kid camps available. The availability on that was really limited, so that likely won't come out until around summertime, I would assume. But if you guys are interested in something like that, looking for something to do in February, granted it's going to be freezing, but it might be really neat to do.
Yeah.
Climb some trees at Silver Falls.
Yeah, and we can link that below so you can just click on it and find out everything you need to know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now they have a lot of availability for like sunset climbs, half-day climbs, whatnot. So I encourage you to check that out because I think it would be really interesting.
Yeah, I think one of us should do it and report back.
Film the next podcast up there.
Yeah.
There you go.
We'll get it done this week.
I'll see if I can check it out. I'll let you know.
Perfect. Some other things that I know you know of this event, but on a bigger scale, the Saltwater Sportsman Show.
Yeah, so there's actually a sportsman show, which is for outdoorsmen, hunting, fishing, camping, things like that. So there's actually one here in Salem that's happening on February 24th and 25th at the State Fairgrounds.
Okay.
But the one, I've actually never been to that show, so I can't vouch for it. But I can vouch for the Portland one, which is the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show.
Okay.
And that happens the weekend before that on February 14th to 18th.
Okay.
And so that's a huge show. It's kind of
Yeah.
the whole Northwest comes together for it.
Yeah.
But Salem has their own going on the weekend after, and I'll be checking that out as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, report back and let us know if it's worth attending. Also, there's breakfast with the police chief February 22nd at the Salem Convention Center from 7:30 to 9:30. They didn't have too many details available about that yet, and I'm sure they will be forthcoming. But also slightly related to that, we have the Salem Fire Foundation is having a breakfast event February 14th starting at 7:30. Breakfast with the chief as well there. So it's a super fun event we're looking forward to. If you want more information, reach out to us and we can see if there's a table or a spot available for you guys at a table. Yeah, and then have either of you guys heard of sound bathing?
No.
I
Okay.
haven't.
Okay, I hadn't either. I actually saw someone on Facebook post about it, and I thought, what is this? And so I did some research, and it's a full body listening experience, and it's sound waves that permeate on a molecular level. So supposedly it's supposed to like help with stress, help like with mind clarity, help like increase focus, decrease tension and fatigue. I have no, I don't know anything about it. If you guys know anything about it or have had experienced it, let us know. Because I mean, it just seems like
Where can you do
so
this?
interesting.
Sound bathing.
I think they have a couple different locations, I believe, but I will get you guys some more information on that. I saw it and I thought, I'm going to look this up a little bit, and I couldn't find too much real information on it, but I think it sounds like it's something that will actually become a little more popular as time goes on. So if you guys know any more about it or some insights, let us know because I'm interested. Yeah, did see February 3rd through 12th. And we'll put the location for that one in the link below. They have a,
So is it
different locations?
like people do it together, or is this like you get in your own little bathing?
I really don't know. Yeah, I think you have to go and just experience it and find out kind of what it is. So maybe one of us will volunteer as tribute for that. Yeah.
It sounds kind of relaxing.
Well, it does, and probably depend. I mean, I know music can have a really big impact, on you, body and mind wise. So interested to see like what kind of music they play, what the atmosphere is like. Super interesting. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And then Charlene, you had a webinar you attended recently.
There was a webinar, I don't remember the exact name of it, but it was put on by WVMLS, which is our local multiple listing service. And they were just helping us to see some of the changes they've made to the listing documents and some of the ways that we might want to do business going forward. So a few of the things I learned that I did not know. First of all, WVMLS is actually independent of the National Association of Realtors. It's in fact, it is the only MLS in the state of Oregon that is not affiliated with the NAR, which allows them to make changes to listing documents and different types of procedures earlier rather than later. Some MLSs are waiting until some of these lawsuits are done, and that we've talked about previously, the NAR lawsuits, before making big changes to their listing documents, but WVMLS has already done that. And one of the things they've done is they've changed, in the past, when you signed a listing document, it was a percentage towards the brokerage that was selling the property, and then there was a split, and some of that money would be brought or given to the buyer's broker who brought the buyer. Well, now the listing documents very specifically separate that out, so a seller knows specifically how much they're paying the seller's broker and how much they're paying the buyer's broker.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's super clear.
Well, that's a nice change though, because I'm sure
Yes.
you're as a seller. I feel like when you're going through that process, there's a lot happening. Not only just going through the contract, but you could be having work done on your house. You could scheduling photos, staging potentially if you're trying to find another home. So having that broken out when you can go back to the contract and read it and it's really clear, instead of saying, well, here's this number and here's this number, how does this work?
Yeah.
I think that's really helpful.
The old listing documents were a little confusing, and so we had to explain that quite often. But the thing that I took away from it the most was just how important it's going to be in the future to use buyer broker agreements, where when someone is looking for a home, they hire a real estate agent and they agree to pay that real estate agent a certain amount at the beginning of the process. Now, this is something that some agencies have used for a long time, but I personally have not used them much. And one of the things they pointed out in this webinar that I think we need to think of as brokers is, if we don't have a buyer broker agreement, then you may end up showing a home that has $0 given towards the buyer's broker,
Right.
which means you'll basically be writing an offer on a house where you won't get paid. There is many other things like how, talk to your buyers about how to ask for concessions at the end to pay for their buyer broker. It's just like asking for closing costs, it's just a part of the negotiation process. So it was very eye-opening, and it made me think about things that I hadn't really thought about before. So I think we're going to be seeing those buyer broker agreements a lot more moving forward. In fact, they said by 2025, they think it's actually going to be a law in the state of Oregon that every transaction involving a real estate agent will need to have a buyer broker agreement.
Definitely not a bad idea.
No, I can see
It protects both parties. It protects the buyer and it protects the agent. So really having a contract, if you're a buyer having a contract with your agent, you know what level of basically care to expect, what to expect out of your agent. So like right now, if you don't have a contract, there's a lot of great agents around here who are going to go to bat and really work for you. But if you don't have anything outlining what the expectations are, that can make it hard.
Right. And as they're working on getting through these lawsuits, I think like lending will catch up where maybe there might be some ways to roll that fee into your loan. But, we're still in the early stages of it. So right now it's just like you would pay your broker at the end of the transaction if you're, your buyer broker.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. Part of your closing costs and stuff.
Have you heard anything in the mortgage industry about?
There's been some rumors about, just as Charlene suggested, of financing in the buyer's agent fee,
Yeah.
but nothing concrete, nothing from official sources yet.
Okay. Okay.
So it's still up in the air, definitely early stages.
Yeah, for sure. And then you mentioned NAR earlier. One stat that I learned is that the NAR has lost about 26,000 members this year alone. Yeah, so they ended 2023, or I guess in 2023, that's how many they lost. 1,554,604 members versus 2021 when they ended the year, they had 1,559,537. So yeah, it's a pretty significant drop, and I assume, would expect to see an even stronger decrease unless there's some kind of turning point when this lawsuit and, NAR somehow comes out on top, which we don't know.
No, we don't know.
We don't know at this point, but we do know it's bringing around a lot of changes, which I mean, every industry, there's, change can be good, can be bad.
Yeah, the NAR is actually a very big group. It's a very strong lobbying group. But one thing I found out is that you don't have to be a member of the NAR to buy and sell real estate or to represent.
Oh, yeah.
And that seems pretty basic, but most real estate agents are members, so you think of it as being a normal thing, but you just have to have a valid license.
It's the title realtor that you get with being an.
That's a really good point, actually, because people use that for anyone who does real estate, and that's not accurate. You can be a real estate agent without being a realtor, but you can't be a realtor without being a real estate agent. So you're also, as a realtor through NAR, you are held to a higher standard of ethics, a higher standard of practice.
Yes.
There's a code of ethics training that we have to go through on a regular basis. You have to get inducted. It is a whole ceremony. So it's not, and people do, and I'm sure I've done it, just use realtor interchangeably. But yeah, that's a good point. It has a specific meaning. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you thinking about? Oh, I was gonna say, are you thinking about the Modern Family?
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Okay.
That dad is,
He cracks me up.
It's a realtor, and for some reason there's a difference.
yes, I remember that. That's so funny. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Hey guys, we're here today to provide you a market update and also an update on the NAR lawsuit that we've been talking about throughout the podcast. So currently, the number of active and available homes is 1,049, and that's just under 3 months of inventory. The last 7 days, we had 80 new homes come on the market. The week before that, 87. So not a huge difference. And then pending total, we have this last week, 515 went under contract, and 70 were this last week. And then 89 were the week before. So you can see the beginning of January was really the time where everyone was kind of coming out of the woodwork and ready to buy. And I'm sure a lot of that had to do with the lower interest rates.
And I'm still seeing, again, when it comes to those market stats, that we've had a big uptick in buyers just in general.
Yeah, and sellers too.
Yeah, it's just been, people are doing a lot more activity than they've done in the past couple of weeks just because of the change in the market. But we do have an update with the NAR lawsuit that's going on. And we have our first version of a buyer actually suing. So it's originating in Chicago, Illinois. So a buyer is actually suing basing off of the commission lawsuit. But yeah, it is a home buyer who is suing now, basically saying that he wasn't being informed enough, kind of, I guess, about the process for what he was actually paying for. So again, a lot of these lawsuits and different kinds are going to be coming out of the woodworks now as this increases.
It would be interesting to see a little bit more about that suit also, because if he's stated what he's being granted, the buyer's loan funds the purchase of the home, which in turn is the net proceeds from the seller, or the proceeds, excuse me, from the seller. So when he's saying that, I'm interested to see like what does he specifically mean, or whoever is.
I mean, it might have been that he just wasn't, it wasn't explained fully, which,
Yeah.
I mean, he has a right to do so, but I mean, you never know. Again, we don't know who his broker was, who he was dealing with, what he was actually told.
What the transparency.
Right. And again, like what we were saying, I think it was like our podcast 2 weeks ago where it's like, this is just a reality that's happening now. And I think it was bound to happen where there are just going to be some stricter rules that are in place that are just guiding us when it comes to buyer broker agreements. And, it's just going to kind of happen. So
Buyer broker agreements really do benefit everyone.
Yeah.
In general. I mean, it protects you as a buyer. It protects us as agents. It's really in my opinion, an underutilized asset.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's interesting because some of the things that I know Charlene, actually, one of the co-hosts, she was actually making a lot of really great statements earlier today.
Yeah.
She had gone to one of our NVAR meetings, and one of the things that she stated was that one of the people on site were like, okay, one of the things that buyers aren't aware of that actually NAR has actually helped them with is one of them is that the fact that we're able to do a 30-year fixed loan. The possibility of us being able to do that is because of NAR. And we're actually going to put some information down below on why that is possible. But, again, NAR is not a complete, hey, they're gone and we're a bunch of stuff. They have done some great things for realtors as well as buyers and the present community. So we kind of have to be aware of that in general, too.
Well, and we are held to a higher code of ethics than NAR, and that's something to consider. And also, we'll put some information down, some verbiage about the benefits of offering a buyer agent some sort of commission, and it's always negotiable and it's optional.
Yes,
is the thing. Now, with the NAR lawsuit, what's interesting is the defendants have filed a response to the plaintiffs. And basically what they're saying is the case is not direct purchasers of the services offered by Keller Williams, Home Services of America, or NAR, which is an interesting point. And then the plaintiffs also haven't presented proof that those same companies have actually conspired with anyone commission-wise. There's no actual proof of a conspiracy there.
Right.
What the defendants are claiming is that the plaintiffs did not conclusively prove that NAR's commission rule caused any true injury or damage. So, there's no real proof of injury to the plaintiff or damage to the plaintiff. Finally, the defendants say that NAR's commission rule doesn't impose an unreasonable restraint in trade, which that's an interesting statement.
Yeah.
Going to be reading more about that one. They do make some decent points. It's going to be an interesting case and see how it unfolds, but any opinions you guys might have about it, we'd love to hear.
Oh, absolutely. And we will keep you updated on all the information that we find out. Obviously, this case is kind of unraveling day to day. So we will keep you updated. Again, once we have the information for you, we'll let you know.
And also, one thing to always keep in mind is if you're working with an agent, whether you're a buyer or a seller, make sure that your agent can prove their value to you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thanks, guys. We'll see you next week with our market update.
Bye.
To grab that.
What are you guys hoping to see for real estate and home buyers in 2024?
Well,
That's a great question, Trevor.
I'm hoping to see interest rates go down.
That was my
Obviously, because then we will see more buyer activity, which I think will bring the sellers out. And, inventory is still low. It's still a seller's market, according to the definition of a seller's market.
Right.
Yeah, even though interest rates are higher than we'd like, there's inventory still low and it's still a seller's market. I saw a meme or a reel or something that said, now is the time to buy between now and the end of February.
Oh.
Yeah. And, if you wait to buy, you're going to probably look back and go, oh my gosh, I should have bought, at the beginning of the year. Because there's not as much competition right now. We're not seeing the multiple offers. I think when we hit that 5% mark, if we get there, we're going to see a lot of buyers coming out and looking. And there's going to be a little bit more competition if we don't get those homes on the market, if there's not more listings.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I know I mentioned it in one of the previous episodes of a podcast, but one argument, maybe not argument, but objection that we get from people who are looking to buy as well. My rent right now is cheaper than what my mortgage payment would be, which is likely true. However, if you're renting, you're never building equity. You're not investing in anything.
And your rent's going up every year, pretty much.
Yes.
And so with a mortgage, you're locking it in. And then if you get the opportunity to refinance, you're going to lower your payment.
Yeah. Right. So I think, and I get it because a lot of people are stuck in the here and now. What can I afford right now?
Yep.
And yeah, right. It is. Absolutely. But you could also maybe, look at your finances. Is there a way that I could potentially make this work where, I might have a higher mortgage payment for a period of time? Can I get a roommate? Can I supplement my income in some way? But it's really is worth it. And like you mentioned, right now, there's not a ton of buyer competition. So prices are remaining pretty, I don't know if stagnant is a great word to use, but
Level.
yeah, level. If the interest rates start coming down and we're seeing them close to 6, even potentially 5, it's going to be, the floodgates are going to open. And I think we'll see a lot of bidding wars. I think we'll see, prices inflating, appraisal gaps being paid for like it was a couple of years ago. It's a good thing to bring up, Charlene. Here.
There's an immense number of buyers that are just sitting on the sidelines right now that I think when rates, say, drop below 6%, get into the 5s, that seems to be the magic number per some national surveys that have been put out there.
Yeah.
5.5 is really like what people are looking for. That's kind of the cutoff point for a lot of people. But I think a lot of people are stuck with the golden handcuffs where they own a house with a 3% mortgage, and why would I sell and go buy another house with a 7% mortgage?
Right.
It just makes very little sense in a lot of people's minds.
Yeah.
So I think as rates come down, there will be a lot more inventory that actually gets freed up to go along with the other buyers. So it'll be interesting to see how everything kind of how it all plans out.
So have you seen much by the way of assumable mortgages, or does that happen very often? And, is it possible for someone who's looking at a home with a low interest rate to take over that person's mortgage?
It is very possible. So you can assume any of the government loans. So that could be VA, FHA, or USDA. And a little known fact is that a non-veteran can assume a VA mortgage.
Sorry, you're probably going to explain this and I'm cutting you off, but how would that work? Because can the holder of the VA loan have a second?
Only has so much eligibility.
Yeah,
So
right.
typically so that is something that needs to be worked into the contract. The one that I actually have had experience with is the I guess seller put into the contract that the buyer needed to refinance the mortgage within 10 years. So within 10 years, it would free up that seller's VA eligibility that he could go out there and do it again. So that's definitely a big part to keep in mind. But essentially, to assume a mortgage, all the buyer needs to do is come up with the equity that the seller has in the home. So the difference between the mortgage balance and the purchase price. They need to basically put that as a down payment, and then they can assume that seller's mortgage at 3%, 4%, whatever the rate is.
Could you have a second mortgage to do that down payment, or do you have to come up with cash?
So don't quote me because I haven't actually had firsthand experience with this, but I've heard strategies where people can go out and get a HELOC
Yes.
or a second mortgage to fill that gap all the way up to about 90% LTV. So at a minimum, I think somebody could expect to need about 10% down to cover the equity.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless somebody has, say, no equity in the home. Then that makes it an really easy transfer. But
Yeah.
yeah.
That's it's just always nice to learn about options because you think about a mortgage and you think a conventional loan 20% down. You think, how in the hell am I ever going to afford that? But hearing about options like that to make it possible, or like zero down, or a lot of these creative options that are coming out or that have been coming out for mortgages, are there there any that you think of that maybe a lot of buyers don't know about or not taking advantage of that?
Yeah, so I mean, you threw out the 20% down number, and the only time that really ever comes into play is with an investor. So a house that you're not going to occupy yourself for at least 12 months.
Okay.
Then in a lot of cases, you'll need at least 15% down, 20% down in most cases. But the coolest program that's out there right now, the newest one, is that Fannie Mae conventional loans just opened up multifamilies, so 2 to 4 unit properties, where they used to require 20% down for 3 to 4 unit properties, now just require 5% down. As long as you're going to live in the property for at least 12 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That will open up a lot of options for people. I
Yeah,
feel.
definitely. And rent out half your home, say, and pay for part of your mortgage. You're still gonna have a housing payment. There's a lot of people talking about rent out half your house and get your whole mortgage payment covered. Right now, with rates the way they are, that's not going to be the case. You're still going to have a manageable mortgage payment of your own.
Far less, though.
But it'll be far less. You'll be building equity much faster because you're buying a larger home
Yeah,
with more value. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
And if you down the road have the potential to refinance, you could ideally have someone be paying your mortgage if it comes down to it, and then you're building your investment portfolio.
Yeah, rent is going to continually go up every year.
Yeah.
And so eventually rents will cover your mortgage. It's just a waiting
Right.
game.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, that's a good point too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think waiting game is a great way to describe it. It may be painful for a little while to really have to, scrimp and save and not spend extra money to make that payment. But over time, hopefully your income goes up. You'll be able to charge more for rents if you're renting out part of that property. And
Big picture of things.
Yeah.
it's a little harder, but it seems like a great way to invest in real estate.
Absolutely, I completely agree.
Okay, anybody gone out to any great restaurants, done anything fun around the Salem area?
Any restaurants?
I got one.
Oh, you do? Okay.
So you guys have been to the Lively Station?
Yes.
out by-
Yeah.
Okay, you guys have been there. I guess I'm late to the party, but it's so good.
Oh, yeah.
Delicious food.
And it's
Cool atmosphere too.
Yeah.
It is. It's a very cool atmosphere, and you're driving out
River.
Yeah.
the restaurant there. It's kind of great, especially for people who live out there. It's nice to not have to drive downtown. Yeah.
Okay. Bag of crab.
Still haven't been.
Oh, Trevor. I might have to make a hold my wine trip. Bag of crab.
Yes, that would be so fun.
My wine lunch on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lunch,
Okay, so what's your favorite restaurant in Salem?
That is a really great question. Trying to think of where I like where I normally go when I go out.
Applebee's.
I mean, as always.
10-year-old me probably would have said Applebee's. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I were my son, it would be Subway.
Oh my gosh, and those are everywhere. So I mean, you have to be in Salem for that.
I'm not a fan of Subway though. But anyway, where do I like to go? I haven't been there in a really long time, but I do like Rudy's. I think they have good food, good wine selection, cozy taberna.
Yes.
That's really good food.
Yeah, they have really good food.
Yes.
They have an awesome atmosphere, awesome staff, really good drinks. I love
The service there is awesome. Like they have great service. I've only been there one time, and everything about it was fantastic.
Have you guys been to Nagoya lately? The hibachi style?
I've been there quite a while ago.
It's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance, or like maybe Brian comes to town, or maybe we could do like a girls thing, or with Trevor, obviously. Bring Tesla, and it could be a whole thing. We'll get a whole table, but it's super fun. The chefs are really interactive. Like they'll throw food at you to catch in your mouth. They like obviously cook all this stuff in front of you, do like the onion volcano and all kinds of stuff. But that one's really fun, and they actually have really good sushi too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my favorite breakfast spot is the Sassy Onion.
Oh yeah. So
Hard to beat.
yeah.
I love their pancakes. Like their pancakes, I always order their pancakes. Every time I go there, they have the best pancakes. I've never had a pancake anywhere else like their pancakes. Yes.
Okay, you heard it. Go to Sassy Onion if you want a good pancake.
The best pancakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I went to, it was a couple weeks ago. It's in Independence, and you would probably know, it's a Golden
Hop?
Valley, somewhere. It's,
Is it like a saloon?
yeah.
Golden Hop?
Yes.
Yeah.
They had the greatest breakfast burrito I have ever had. Oh, It was
So good.
Where in Independence? On the main street?
it's right off the main street. I don't know which street it's off of.
Brew is the Brew Coffee Shop. It's basically right across Main Street from the park.
Okay. Well, I didn't know where the park is.
Yeah.
It was
Haven't had their breakfast.
It was incredible. I knew I should have stopped eating, but I just couldn't. It's a huge portion too, so don't judge me. It's a huge portion, and it was so good.
Yeah.
And then they have all the stuff that's in the burrito as like you can get like a scramble kind of thing, and that was, I'm sure, just as good. But
Yeah.
Yeah, the saloon's a really cool place. I'm pretty stoked that it's an addition to Independence. It's very Western. It's a very saloon style bar.
yeah, it's a super fun atmosphere.
All right, welcome to another week of Trevor's Manly Minute. Talk about things that I guess interest me, such as outdoor sports. Snowboarding is getting really good. Snow is piling up on the mountains.
Finally.
Yep, finally. But fishing is getting really good. So if you're into steelheading on the Oregon coast, it's time to get out there and try it. Used car prices are still down, just as last week, and mortgage rates are holding steady, right underneath 7% for most. But what is coming up is Valentine's Day, which I guess caused a little bit of concern for me. So I've enlisted my friend Nate here to tell me what wine I should buy for Valentine's Day dinner. Take it away.
All right. Well, for dinner, obviously it's going to depend what you have. If you have a nice steak dinner, go with something nice and red, perhaps a nice Cabernet Sauvignon. Del Rio from Gold Hill, Oregon, just had a top 100 wines of 2023 from Wine Enthusiasts named their Cabernet Sauvignon in that list, and that's an Oregon Cabernet Sauvignon, which is great. A rosé is delicious just to have. A nice rosé of Gamay Noir, which is a cousin of Pinot Noir. Or if you're looking to have some fish, have a nice Chardonnay, an oak Chardonnay with some salmon. So
Okay.
lots of options.
All right, I'm going to go fetch a steel and we'll have some oak Chardonnay.
There you go.
Steel it. Perfect. Appreciate it, with us. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, Independence is a vibe. I like Independence. It is the cutest little town. I mean, they have done such a great job. You know, they had I think it was like the urban renewal money, and they really fixed up that downtown. Yeah.
We just need to get rid of the the locals are calling it Skeletor.
Oh.
The big old concrete building that since 2000, I think they started 2004.
Okay, wait, hold on. I'm trying to picture it. Where
Driving between Independence and Monmouth, like basically right as you turn towards Monmouth.
Yeah, when you start heading west out of Independence.
I don't know.
There's a big old concrete
Some guy had
metal.
a vision back in the early 2000s, and it was going to be super green, friendly. The toilets were going to be flushed with rainwater and stuff like that.
Okay.
Which that's not a terrible idea, but yeah, his vision never came to pass.
It's up for sale right now too.
It's an eyesore. I wonder how much it is.
I think they just had a $500,000 price cut, so I think it's 2.2 mil now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think that it would need to be torn down, or do you think someone could use what's there?
I mean, it's all metal and concrete. I think you could use what's there. I don't think it's been too long that it's starting to deteriorate. I think it could still be used. There's still value in the materials and the groundwork that they've laid.
Okay.
So I think it just needs an investor with some pocket change to come in and finish the job, because it could be really nice, and it's supposed to be mixed use, retail space on the bottom, and then residential on the upper 2 to 3 levels. They're thinking about building a 4th, and there is a property tax credit I heard about for every floor of residential they build.
Really?
Yeah, so the new buyer, if you're listening, get a property tax credit for each level of residential you build. So yeah.
Wow, that's
Wow. Every time you drive past it, you're just like, when is this going to take?
Somebody just needs to step up and do something.
yeah, Trevor. Do you have investment goals?
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah, so now it's a big project for somebody, but I think something will happen with it eventually.
I'm sure one way or the other. Yeah, something has or will.
It's definitely been a long time coming, and I think that citizens of Independence would probably appreciate a facelift there.
The name Skeletor, I would think so. I've actually never heard anybody call it that. That's just that the newspaper said.
Oh, really?
The Skeletor.
They heard it from somewhere, maybe.
Came up with it. Yeah. So as you guys have probably noticed, Allie is not here. She had to get some dental work done, and so she took the day off. But we're thinking of her. She's here in spirit. We love you, Allie.
She's probably got her sunglasses on, looking up at the light right now, like taking a nap in the dentist chair. But yeah, we love you, Allie. Miss you.
Yes, always.
So this is a couple episodes ago. She mentioned when we weren't here about the bridge, the second bridge.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was listening. I was like, I know something about this.
Oh, okay.
So it was at the Ameritidal Christmas party. I
Yeah.
met the guy who works for the city who acquires land for the city. And we talked about it. And he said, yeah, that it was this whole big project. They had everything put together. They had the dream of this bridge. And he said that the city council just kind of kicked it to the curb. He did mention that, you know, a lot of those guys who worked on that are kind of getting close to retiring and stuff. And so if they ever bring it up again, they might, you know, end up having to start from scratch.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm sure you have too, just growing up here, it's been a constant topic of discussion. I'm not regularly, of course, but I hear about it. And it's just, you know, it just can never come together. You know, just can never get on the same page.
And it is the most ridiculous thing because I live out Wallace Road.
Yeah.
And we have 2 listings in Kaiser. Or we had one now, but the other one's going to come back on the market. And one time I put in the GPS, like, it's a literal U. Like,
Yeah.
the properties are across, like, direct east.
A mile or two as the crow flies. But you got to drive 15 miles to get there.
You have to go clear down to the ridge and then back up. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, you either take the bridge or you drive all the way out to the Wheatland Ferry. Why?
The ferry's closed this time of year.
Right. Well, yeah, good point. Yeah.
I mean, even if they would put a bridge where the Wheatland Ferry is, I'd be happy with that.
Like, why not? It's not that.
No, it's not.
Yeah. I don't know. If anyone has some insight into this, let us know. Maybe we're being ridiculous, but yeah, it seems silly that it hasn't been done yet.
Well, thank you for joining us for another awesome week of Hold My Wine, a Wonderfully Willamette podcast. We hope you join us again soon. And signing off for the day.
Thank you, guys. See you next time. Bye.
Hold My Wine, a Wonderfully Willamette podcast, has been brought to you by Guild Mortgage and the Salem Real Estate Group. Produced by Biscuits and Waffles Productions. It was filmed at Guild Mortgage Studios in Salem, Oregon. A special thanks to Charlene Morgan with Charlene Tracy Films for editing this podcast.